Welcome back to Dolor Factor Live. This is your last chance to win the music CDs. The information is on the screen, okay? I'm sure you know the questions. If you don't, you have join us on BB and we'll send the questions to you. Okay, now before the break we spoke about young people wanting to make a start in the music industry and not knowing. Now I asked that question specifically because that was when we were actually thinking of our programs for April. A lot of people said, we're really interested in music, we really love music. How do we make a start? Some people are very young, they haven't really studied music, but they believe they have a talent, not sure how to show it. Rob, where should they begin?
Well, you've got to have something to get your music, to get your talent out there, to get your voice, instrument, whatever out there. And the best way to do it really is record yourself on your laptop, on a computer, put it out on YouTube. You know,
on your BlackBerry.
Anybody can put it out there on YouTube or Facebook, or put it out there and get some feedback.
But won't people be afraid that someone's going to steal their song? Doesn't that happen?
Well, yeah, but the reality is that this is a very, very small country. People forget that. St Lucia is very small. More often than not, I'm sure you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows a producer. And the producers in St. Lucia, I found, are very open to working with new up-and-coming artists. And if you have a talent and you are really committed to getting your sound out there, the onus is on you to make it happen. Everybody who does production in St. Lucia, who writes songs in St. Lucia, who works in the media in St. Lucia, very accessible. We all go to the same supermarkets, the same shows. We work at stations where you could find us. You need to find a way if you have because I know that I've been with Kuti a number of times and people come up to him and say to him, I want to sing. And he says, sing. Yeah. Karaoke, you'd be surprised. Cupid, which was actually one of the first places Kuti heard her sing, was at karaoke. If you want to sing, you go out there and make yourself available in places where you can meet the right people. You'd be surprised. This might be your break, because I don't want to tell people that if you want to be a singer, all you have to be able to do is to sing, because that's not true. You have to have everything else that comes with it. But it is important. And at the same time, I don't want you to think that because you can sing, you're going to be a star, unless you're willing to put in the work. If you see Rihanna, people, she is a workhorse. You see Beyonce, these people work hard. You see Pele, may his soul rest in peace, one of our success stories, or Invader. These people are artists who put in the work. You can't just make it just because you think you can sing. And because you hear a song on the radio, you're a success. And you have to be personable. I remember that I was at HTS and somebody came in to introduce me to a new artist. And the artist was just dressed badly, speaking badly, and so rude. You could overlook everything, but she was just so super rude. It doesn't give you the impetus to work with them anymore because of the way that they're getting on. So you have to be in a place where you open yourself up. I don't want to be all zen, but open yourself up to the experience of being successful.
The right attitude, you know.
Because you never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, your attitude will take you as far as your attitude is good. You know, I mean, you can have I'm a star, I've made it already. But if you haven't,
have one song on the radio,
you've got a bad attitude, you're not going anywhere.
Because I keep telling people, just because you have one song on the radio means that you are maybe known in Castries. Castries is not St. Lucia. How many artists do we actually have in St. Lucia who can actually go all around the island and everybody knows who you are? That is when, if you can make it in your little area, which is in Moshi, Grosile, take that to the entire Grosile, go to Castries, and then you go down to Miku, go to Vefor. You have to be willing to put in the work. Just because you have one song on the radio, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't mean that anybody knows who you are. And just because they know who you are, do they know how to get a hold of you? Or they will book you for their show. Because you have to have the right sound. And the word that I'm hearing a lot lately is you have to be professional.
Punctual.
Punctual.
It's the biggest problem I have with dealing with people down here. And it doesn't just mean music, but in the music business, whether it's band practice or whether it's people coming to the studio on time, be on time. If it's at 9 o'clock, be there at 10 to. You know,
because it shows that you are interested.
And not only that, you know, you manage your time throughout the day. You have very little time for waste. You know, get on with it and get there, get it done, and get out onto the next thing. And that's how everybody is. You know, so it's the biggest problem I find is punctuality. Really.
All right. So if you have a talent, you believe you have a talent, you want to make sure that it gets out there, but you have nothing else but perhaps a really great voice, or you can play an instrument very well. You get it out there. What kind of support are you going to get to teach you the other things that you need to learn?
And that's why you need to get yourself surrounded by the right people. The reality is that anybody can tell you that they're a producer, they're a songwriter, and they have a studio. It doesn't mean that they have the talent to take you where you need to go. You have to listen to the songs you hear on the radio, and you have to see, well, which songs am I hearing more often? Are these songs that I might be able to sing? And you have to be able to go in there, because this is your business ultimately. Don't look at this as a hobby. This is your career. So you want to be careful to get into the right area, the right atmosphere, the right people.
You know, when we say that, I think let's be a little bit more specific, because, for example, if you're someone and you like, you love soca, then what's the point of going to someone who arranges, you know, traditional music? Maybe what you should do is listen to someone who you like, find out who their producer is,
exactly,
and try. I think that's what Carmy's trying to say.
Yeah, because there was a new artist who approached us from Bexon, and he actually was at Pizza Party in the Yard, and Monster was coming out to perform the song. That's number one of the songs, one of the answers to the trivia question, and he kept hearing Monster saying Dutch Productions. He was like, who's this Dutch Productions? Who are these people? And he went backstage, and that's how he actually got in touch with Kuti, because Kuti was backstage, was hanging out there waiting for the artist to finish performing.
Okay, can I just stop you a little bit? Just because the phones have been ringing, and although I haven't said the phone lines are open, we're going to open them because we don't want to turn your calls away. So thank you very much. Sorry, I waited too long. Okay, but call back. We will take your calls. I did intend to open the phone lines after the break, but because the calls are already starting, we'll take them when they get. Yes. Okay, so it's very important that anyone who's interested, and please don't let, I would say don't let age be a barrier. Is that a case? Because sometimes you think, oh well, I'm 40 already, or I'm 50 already. It's no point.
If you can sing, you can sing. That is a talent. That's a God-given talent that nobody can take that away from you, and you can always be marketed. I keep telling people that when Ricky T first started to sing, started to perform and sing, he would go to the studio with the 758, which is where he recorded his first earlier hits, and be in there in the studio, and that it shows commitment. If you come to the studio and you really have no song, but you're there because you're showing commitment, you're learning while you're there.
But also
in the culture.
From an experience of being in Jamaica, going to the studios there, you see a lot of guys outside the studios who obviously can't get in the studios, but
they're there.
They write music. They might not want to be the artist, they might not want to be the singer on the record, but they write music. They will write for you. So being in the music industry doesn't mean you have to be the artist and the singer. You could be a writer. You could be involved in music video. You could be involved in marketing. There's a lot of different facets.
What about if you say you're a singer, in terms of you've got a good voice, but you have no songs of your own? Can you go to approach a producer and sing somebody else's song just so that they can hear your voice and then be attached to perhaps a songwriter?
The reality is that when you're singing for somebody to know, what they're trying to find out is your range. So you can sing any song that you like on the radio. You can sing any song that you know. It doesn't have to be original music. Nobody's saying that to be an artist you have to have original music, because songwriting in itself is a unique skill. How many songwriters we know who Ashford and Simpson, they don't really, they're songwriters, they're not really hit makers, but they can write a hit song, but they can't sing it. R. Kelly is maybe one of the few that I know who actually writes for other people and writes for himself as well, and he only seems to write hit songs. But that doesn't happen very often.
And if you're an experienced producer enough, within the first few lines of somebody singing,
you can tell
know if they've got it or they've not.
Because you can hear it.
You don't have to hear an entire song. You can hear a verse, you've either got it or you haven't. And if you don't, even if you don't look the part, as you can see with Rihanna and Beyonce and everybody else, you can make them.
Rob, let me ask you, does that still pertain to a musician? Because we've been talking about singers, but what about musicians? If you have a particular instrument that you can play, is it the same type of follow through?
Well, not necessarily. Because a lot of musicians, I'd exclude myself from it because I'm a lead musician. I play the saxophone as well. Obviously, it's been my main instrument, but. It's about being around bands, trying to get backstage and meeting other musicians and jumping on and letting them hear you, and going to open mic sessions and jam sessions and letting them play, because from the time somebody can hear you, a great guitarist, you're a player, they're going to call you, hey, we need them. And I'll tell you right now, St Lucia has a serious drain of good musicians because they're all on the cruise ships, they're gone.
They're trying to make a living.
We are sharing, all bands are sharing musicians right now. We don't have enough musicians around.
Why are they going on the cruise ships?
Because that's where the money
That's
is.
where the money is. They can't survive in St. Lucia with music in its present form. But the reality is, Delia, if you want to be a journalist, you're not going to be you want to be a journalist and you don't read the newspaper, you don't watch television, you don't go to places where you can run into a journalist. In other words, you don't go to press conference, but you don't go to workshops, you don't go to events. If you want to be an artist, it's the same thing. if you want to be an artist, you have to immerse yourself in the culture of artists, and that's how you're going to get to meet artists. Because artists tend to hang around the same places. That they are creative people. They like to be surrounded by creativity. If you go to a show, don't just try to be at the show, drinking, having a good time. This is a chance for you to get a chance to meet artists, because they're going to be performing at the show. Whether they're backstage, you might mingle around the crowd, give them a demo tape.
But one thing I would like to say, which I wish I would like to see more of here. Recently, I attended a show that has been going on for the last 7 years here, and it's a private party by a Trinidadian guy, an old man who has a birthday party here every year. And I had the privilege of being invited to it this year, and hopefully we'll be performing at it next year maybe. But it was done, put on by Tracy Hamlin, who has recorded with Boo before, and it was done really well. They had a night before where it was a mix and mingle with the artists that were coming out, and it was like a mini jazz festival. He brought down all these big names in jazz to come down, and as a musician, I got to actually meet these people and talk to them, exchange stories, exchange cards, and you do not get that opportunity enough in the St Lucia Jazz Festival. You cannot get backstage, you don't get this artist mingling, and when you do and you talk to them and you say, hey, one of the first questions is, hey, how did you get that gig? Oh, well, I was backstage and I got talking with them, or they were in a bar and whatever, and they got a chance to meet them. You don't get enough opportunities to meet the foreign artists and musicians and coming down here.
Well, that's
and
really
at the end of the day, musicians want to hang with musicians.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because you can learn from one of the things that
sorry, Carmy, let me just ask Rob something. Are you saying that within St Lucia Jazz, have you actually asked someone, say in the tourist board?
Actually, I was answering that question.
No, I wanted to ask him specifically because I want to know: have you asked? Have you specifically asked someone in the tourist board or whoever it is that's organizing jazz? Can we have an opportunity to mingle with the international
but it's
artists?
not organized. It's not a priority for them. There's nobody within the tourist board that wants to take that time, as far as I can see anyway. That will actually take that time to do that, to allow artists to mix and mingle, like happened with what Tracy organized with.
Because she knows, she's an artist.
She's an artist, and that's what is important to we musicians.
Well, I think that's imperative, because I have to say, as an international journalist, I had so much more access, than me returning home and being a local. So I sympathise. I understand.
And it really doesn't seem to happen so much. When I've travelled and toured and played in various places, you get that interaction with people. For some reason, everybody can interact and they're accessible. We just don't. They are not accessible down here. We don't get a chance to mix and mingle with them, and it's very, very important. To be able to get on. If they see me as a sax player or somebody else as a guitarist, Zach, somebody as a guitarist, and wow, we have some amazing musicians down here. I mean, they should be on some bigger stages.
Teddy St John,
exactly. No,
I mean, he was brilliant.
No, that's the point that I was making. Is that when I met with the tourism minister, tourism creative industries minister, soon after he took office, and he said one of the things that he wanted to do for jazz was to actually have industry people come down to St Lucia and meet with artists and get a chance, because St Lucia Jazz is called St Lucia Jazz, and you want artists to actually benefit from it. And to him, that's the only way he could actually see benefiting, because the whole idea of Ricky T performing with Wyclef Jean came down here for jazz was huge, because that thing was shown all over the world in pictures and in video. Teddy St John getting to perform with these great legends of music, that is reality. But at the same time, behind the scenes, producers, songwriters, artists, St. Lucians need to be able to get to meet the people who could get their music away from our shores out there to make money. And he did indicate that he was interested and he wanted to do that for this year's Jazz Festival.
And I'm sure you're going to keep tabs on that.
Hopefully it will happen. It would be nice if it happened. No, because the fact of the matter is that Robin knows this as much as I do. This is a country where, as a producer or a songwriter, you had to pay to go to a show, and when you get there, you hear your songs being played. You realize that, right?
Yeah, and that's another thing that we need to talk about. But unfortunately, we have to take a break now. And when we return, we're going to open the phone lines. And if you have any questions, send them now. This is the Dolor Factor on DBS. See you soon.